All right, Chelsea,
Brian.
what's going on Friday night?
Friday night. Hey, everybody. Our big third episode, our first ever recap of a content episode, which was digging deeper.
For us, what was the purpose of that? Why did we decide to do that early on?
Yeah. So, as our loyal listeners have heard us share, Brian and I have really just met each other 6 months ago and embarked on every piece of getting to know each other via lives. So, as much as you all know about the two of us, is how much we know about the two of us. And we thought maybe we should learn a little more. And so, Castle, a friend of ours, came on and moderated using her experience in the dating scene to come up with a list of questions for us to discuss.
Her extensive dating
Extensive.
background that she said she had. And you say that she's a friend of ours. She's not that far removed from us not knowing each other either.
True. She's a friend of mine more.
She's a friend of yours more, of which I think the big reveal on our last episode was the fact that you didn't even know that Castle was her last name.
Yes. Now, I will say this is something about me. I don't like boring details. So, like, why is your name Castle? No offense. I know you thought that was an exciting detail. She just said her name's Castle. I'm like, I call you whatever you want. That's cool.
Well,
So, to me,
speaking of the devil, speaking of Castle, and I don't
here?
know, can you see who all's here
No.
on our thing?
From the plane?
From somewhere over Tennessee, I think she was saying. Although I think she's got herself muted because it's probably super loud.
Oh my God.
Castle,
You're
can you hear us
Hey
at all?
guys.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Definitely on a plane. Yeah, no,
Okay.
we're definitely somewhere over something.
So if Castle's on, we need to start this episode with our homework because I have a feeling you won't be with us long, Castle, because your flight will be safe, but like you won't be present virtually long. Your flight's gonna be great. Knocking on wood.
How long is your flight, by the way?
4 more hours.
Oh, jeez. We could go on for 4 hours. We have been known to do very long lives.
We have. That goes against our principles of keeping it to a tight hour-ish.
All right. It's true.
Let's do what you drinking.
Let's hear it.
And then I want to tell you about our homework. But Castle, I'm very curious. Okay,
Ooh.
Dr. Pepper. Fancy. It's St. Patrick's Day, y'all.
I totally messed up. I'm finishing off the box from our earlier live this week or last week. But I now that I've seen the Guinness, I was like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I had no idea it was St. Patrick's Day. Although I'm a Guinness guy anyway, so every day for me is St. Patrick's Day, I guess.
It's always a good day for Guinness. So, Castle, you gave us some not super fun homework.
Not super fun.
MILF Manor. MILF content warning. Oh my goodness. That was wild. Brian, do you want to play a little clip so people know what we're talking about?
Well, so Castle, when she was our host last week, gave us the homework. Or was it homework, or did she just ask to see if we had seen it or heard it?
It was both. I went for both.
Okay. And I that was when I knew that she was the perfect host for our show when she picked a show like that. Now, the homework was for all of us to watch at least the first episode, and it took a little bit because I don't have. When I was looking to find out how to stream it, it had to be on TLC or the Animal Planet, something like that. We didn't have that. So luckily, YouTube, you can watch the first episode they had uploaded on YouTube. So I don't know necessarily. Do you guys want to briefly watch the trailer for it?
think we should set the stage.
Just
Yeah.
to, let's see here.
Amanda did her homework, Castle. I don't know if you've seen this on Instagram, given you've been in air. So you've now imposed this upon more people. All right. Some of them have had hard lives, and I was feeling like this was a little sad. Can we hear the music or no, the sound?
I can hear it. Can you guys?
Oh, no. But I mean, this is good. This sets the stage. So we can't hear the sound. So we'll pause it so we can talk about it. But essentially what everyone's saying here, you have these beautiful, beautiful women ranging between the ages of 40 and I think the oldest was 58.
Yeah, and they look phenomenal. They look phenomenal.
Yes. I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous women. Yeah, dead daughter mom. Amanda. But they're gorgeous women. They've all gone through life. Like a lot of them have had husbands, divorces. They've all gone through life. Like a lot of them are pretty legitimate career path women as well. Like they all have these really cool backstories. I'd say they all also told us a lot about their sex drive. That was like an important thing to talk about their libido. Brian, what was your takeaway meeting these women?
Well, I thought it was interesting when they would reveal each one, right? One by one as they came in. And just like when you get a bunch of guys together, there is a little bit of the whole peacocking type thing to where everybody's trying to, each of the ladies were kind of sizing each other up and looking to see who was hot. And although, I think a couple of them said, commented on like getting some work done and whatever, it's the typical kind of dating show. Nothing that I thought was the twist is that they're in their 40s to 40 to 60s, right? Mm-hmm. Or that was the selling point initially.
Yes, that was supposedly the twist. And then
yes, they were all but specifically they were looking for intergenerational love, which is I loved how they phrased that.
Yeah, that was one thing that was strange to me is they were looking for intergenerational love. That was a weird wording. But also at least 3 of the women, I don't think all of them, at least 3 of them came on saying, if I found a husband out of this, I would be okay with
that. There's a few of these type of shows that I really do think that it's a legitimate, like people are there looking for actual love.
Yep.
What's the one that we all kind of just finished that we're talking about?
Married at First Sight?
Not Married at First Sight, but that's another one. But the one with
Perfect Match.
Perfect Match. But what's the show they all came from, or most
of them
came from Nick Lachey's one show.
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. That's a show that I get attached to because I do feel, for the most part, it's more than just a bunch of people wanting to be on TV.
Agreed.
And there are some people there that are like that. Yep. But there's been some really good couples that have come out of that. A lot of good drama. Mm-hmm.
What's funny, just to pause really quick, we just went through like 3 love reality shows, 4 in the course. Like the number of, you're like, what's the one we just talked about? Right. We just talked about at least 5 of them.
And all of it was correct. All of it was correct that you named.
But, keep going though.
But so here we've paused on a good spot because all the ladies are on the other side of a sliding garage door, a driveway door or something, and it's going to open up and reveal the younger men that are coming onto the show. So I'm just going to go ahead and play, and then we can talk about it. Oh, so it doesn't show you. So
they don't show you. Okay. So they don't show you, but there's the classic reveal of the men. And Castle revealed this, so I think we can just share from our last episode. Spoiler, the men are all sons of one of the women. But that was not the biggest shocker to me.
That wasn't?
No. That wasn't actually what bothered me the most.
Are you going to reveal?
I'm curious if someone would guess it.
Is it that they have to share rooms with their sons? Because that freaked me out.
That was also highly problematic, but that was not what bothered me the most. What bothered me the most was that the sons were 20. Like, a few of them weren't even 21 years old.
Yeah, but let me toss this out to both of you in a sense that if this was a dating show just in reverse, and they touch on this in the show that it's commonplace older guys, 40s through 60, let's say, and that's when most marriages, once the kids are off to college or out of the house and everybody tends to kind of go their separate ways, those guys will go and find much younger women.
Totally.
And it's nothing.
I've had
right?
cougar friends. Like I have friends, in their 50s, 60s who exclusively date younger dudes. Like I have no problem with the intergenerational love. I have a problem with the college age. Like that just felt too young. Like I feel like 22 and up would have been safer.
I agree. I feel like you should be able to drink at your own wedding. I feel like that should just be like a nice rule.
Yes.
The bar is there, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, so Chelsea mentioned what her kind of shock was, aside from that these were the sons of the other women. Look, I'm just going to put it out. I'm not quite sure. There's a couple of the sons that are there. I don't think that women are their thing. Watching I was like, it's just either they maybe go for both. But I'm like,
sure.
I don't think necessarily. And the show is just, it seems so overly produced for content drama and stuff. And just the way that, certain couples were to come upon somebody else and they just happen to have the right camera angles. And it's done on Bachelor, Bachelorette, all the other shows as well. But there's nothing about this show other than just for fun.
Yep.
That I was like, this is like legitimate people.
I agree.
Having a good time.
Anything authentic. Now I will say I got slack for this. I'll just go ahead and fess up to it. I watched about 2/3 and then stopped because I was watching on the TLC app and it crashed. And then when I rebooted it, because these TV apps just don't work, it crashed. I rebooted it. And episode 2 started without me knowing. And I watched about 15 minutes of episode 2 before I figured it out. That's how bad the show is. I didn't even realize I was on the wrong episode. And once I figured it out, I was like, screw this. Because episode 2 is terrible. They share their biggest secrets. And most of them are talking about the sexual transmitted infections they have.
Yeah, and they were trying so hard. A couple of the moms.
Well, you just gave us a spoiler.
Sorry, if you're dying to watch next episode.
The fact, when they were sharing the rooms with their sons, and then they were trying to bring some of their dates up into the room, then it was just getting kind of silly. Now I watched the whole thing.
That is Amanda's favorite mom, Disco Mom.
Do you guys have favorite ones or?
I'm making fun of Amanda because she already commented. I did have a favorite one immediately. I liked the oldest one best. Orange dress. I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just liked her. She constantly was talking about how high her libido was, and I was like here for it.
She seemed to me
but
like
also
the
with
alpha.
that one. Did her son surprise you, Chelsea? Because he was not what I was expecting.
He was not what I was expecting, but he was like also very alternatives. That made sense, Some of the sons did not seem. I actually wouldn't question their sexuality because they're coming on a show like this. They're their sexuality in some way they're interested in women. My question for them was, do you like older women? Because I think that they're not into older women based on what they were saying. They weren't like, I only date older women. They were like, I don't know. Love is love. I could be into it.
Yeah,
Bible babe. Look at Amanda likes Bible babe.
If everybody was going to watch this through completion, I probably would also find a way to watch the rest of the episodes. I don't even know if episodes 2 and on are available on YouTube. But I mean, I am kind of curious just to give it more time to see if something were to happen here on the show that would be kind of legit or something, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen, Brian. Like, I don't think something legit's happening.
No, and to your point about production, Brian, and Amanda just put in a comment that she thinks they're more interested in fame than women. That was my problem too. Like, you can't have the amount that this show is overproduced and the amount that this show is not about the show at all. Like, we get it. Perfect Match was clearly not about finding love, but I do actually think some of them genuinely fell in like deep infatuation for people. So that, I think Perfect Match is where I draw the line. Like, anything more produced than that, I can't do it.
I think it has to be some kind of just a tinge of realism for me. If it gets a little too, I mean, this kind of goes back to like social media and the content that I gravitate towards, or that I repel from over time, is stuff that's just overly kind of produced, or anything that just seems just a little too fake for me. So when you're being affected too much, then I'm like, you know, I'm all for having some fun and making a show, which, you know, you need a little bit of drama and you need people kind of playing into the camera and all that stuff. But when it becomes a little too affected, I'm just like, but I can go all the way through here if I can figure out how to stream the rest of the shows. So I'm curious if Castle, how far did you say that you got to?
I'm through episode 2. And I'm worried that I'm going to be traumatized if I go further.
But will you watch the rest?
I will. I will also say that I watched the first episode on a 20-foot by 20-foot large screen, and it was a lot in like movie style format.
Why?
We were having a girls' night, and we just were like, "This is great, let's do it." And we streamed it out onto the wall, and then it was a lot. It was a lot to take in that large of a format.
See, I could see that
we printed off after episode 1.
Like a little social party. I get it.
Yeah. That's like, I think the first time I watched Love at First Sight, because I was not into it initially, was quarantine, which I think is when everybody got into it. But quarantine, we tested with some friends and went to the beach. And it was like the first time we were out and about. And we spent every night, because we couldn't go out actually, watching Love at First Sight. And we crushed it over our 2-week vacation. And so it's like, yeah, like I would, if people were here and we were eating popcorn together and we were discussing it, but like my husband watched it for a minute, put in headphones, rolled over, and started watching Seinfeld. So it's like, okay, well, now I'm just watching this alone, and I feel like it's like drinking alone. Like, it feels a little weird.
Yeah, the thing that I'm curious about right now is, and I know Castle's not going to be able to say anything, is I'm more interested in her new friend that she's sitting next to on the airplane. Like, what are they all thinking that she's doing? Yeah, that lady right there. You said she was pretty cool.
You can't do that.
You said she was pretty cool.
Frozen.
Yeah, it's frozen right on her face. The
oh my God, Castle's gonna ask me
now
to say
she got
hi.
caught.
I'm so awkward. I can't. I'm so uncomfortable.
Hold on, I asked her to show off her hair. Look at that.
Oh, I love it.
This is the first for our live.
Wow.
Oh, hold on.
In air.
If I took headphones, could you hear?
Yeah.
Like my hair.
We love it.
I told her like amazing hair.
What is happening?
It's Castle, and then I love the way that she has her name, Castle, on plane 13A, and then her guest on 13B.
I know, that's too much that is happening right now. All right. I think I'm going to call MILF
we got to
Manor.
put that right.
Well, we
got to stay on time. We're trying to stay within an hour.
Yeah, I'm keeping us on time, but who's watching it the whole way through? I can say right now I am not. Sorry.
I will see if I can stream it. If I can stream it somehow, I'm curious to see it all the way through. I don't think it'll go past one season though.
No. Castle, you're questioning?
Well, no, I'll do it for you, Brian. But I was also going to say I will jump off so you guys can finish your discussion as well. But I will be contributing to the chat portion.
Thank you
feel
for
free to do
joining.
that. And I think the next section coming up will interest you because we're going to be doing, I think Chelsea has on our list of things to do, reviewing our show with you from last week. So
Yep. Thanks,
tell our friend next to
Castle.
you goodbye and have a safe trip home.
I will. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay,
Okay, so how do we kick her out? Oh, there
You know,
she just kicked
yeah.
herself out.
There you go.
I'm still learning how to use this.
Oh, wait, quick, fun question because this will move us into digging deeper.
Yeah.
So that sort of interaction for me, I'm not even kidding. I was like watching an episode of The Office, sweaty, uncomfortable. I was like, oh no, we don't pull a stranger into a live. Oh, and we're touching her hair. You just met her and you're touching her hair. I was like, get me out of here.
I was worried a little bit that we were showing her on the live and then the video froze right on her face.
I know.
When you said The Office, are you referring to the US or the UK version? Have we had this conversation
yeah,
before?
we have. It's on the list. It'll come up today,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
But I was referring to the US version. But any of those, I like awkward. Like I find it interesting, but I definitely get awkward. And so I was like, oh, this is socially very awkward for me.
Yes. All right, so
Okay.
now we're done with MILF Manor. That was fun. We gave it a try. We did our homework.
We did our homework. Castle came on and approved. We didn't get grades. So Castle, if you are able to comment from the air, you can score Brian and I on our homework. Amanda also did the homework if you'd like to score her. But today, what we really need to talk about, digging deeper, our first segment with content. How did it go? So we wanted to start with personally, what did we think? And then we'll move into what did social media think. But just personally, what do you think?
Well, I guess I'll go first a little bit. I mean, I think that was a great way to kind of start off a little lighthearted, but like the what is it? Not the show, but the game, however we called it, Digging Deeper. I think that was something that we needed to kind of do on the front end of things, just to, again, I mean, we know each other for 6 months, you know?
Yep.
And there's a lot of different things that I think I learned about you. I still can't get over the sheets, and
It's normal.
I meant to make that a poll that I was going to put up there, and I still might go back and clip that one out because I'm just kind of curious about the sheet stuff.
I swear that is normal. Like I would love for you to go back because I'm so certain that is normal.
Because I think you were saying that if it's 2 weeks, then you're lucky, right?
No, it's always 2 weeks. We have a cleaner.
And so every 2 weeks, it's for sure he gets cleaned.
Yep. Every 2 weeks we wash our sheets, which seem very normal to me. And I learned for the first time ever that may be abnormal.
Well, we'll post a poll. I think that'll be interesting to see just from a bigger collection of people. But I thought it was a great way to, one, introduce a little bit of, you know, it's fun having a little different blood here on the show. If it's just you and I, which I think we're likable or interesting. You're likable. I think together we're interesting. But it's nice to have somebody come on as a guest host where we can kind of take a seat back and just play a game.
Yeah, I agree. I'd also say, wait, so to recap though, you liked it because it was a game. You liked it because you actually did get to learn something a little bit.
Yeah, not so much just the details of how you answer, but it's in the way you answered things. It gave me kind of insight into your sense of humor. So I'm constantly profiling you, right? It's because this is something to where we're looking at after 24 episodes of doing these live shows. We're hoping that we will be able to put together something to where it's a long-term type podcast, maybe, to where we can use some of those ideas that we came up with and either continue with them or expand on them and create just fun content that way. We're still kind of crafting what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the ability of our show, the way we have it set up, is that we can kind of change on a week-to-week basis because we're making a podcast. You guys are following us and you're figuring out, okay, well, how do two people work together and getting stuff put together and show ideas? And can two people that barely know each other do it? Or do you have to have two people that are best friends or what? So there's a lot of things I was taking out of that, aside from just you only changing your sheets every 2 weeks.
Brian was digging so much deeper. I would say though, to me, I've actually thought about it very opposite. What I was very appreciative of, I thought we were going to try to do questions that were like intense and maybe hard to answer, which I was like, oh, that'll be fun. Ended up being very relatable questions that were very like silly and kind of superfluous but fun. And I greatly enjoyed that. And I found it like the relatable piece, I found it very interesting. So I was like, okay, this is fun to talk about. This can reach a wide audience. Like anyone hypothetically should be interested in this type content. I actually felt it wasn't necessarily sharing anything about the two of us, which was fine. It was like, it's kind of funny that I'm not really disclosing anything actually. I'm not bothered by the sheets disclosure. But we're having like, it was a lot of fun and so creative.
Well, I wonder if heavier, more intense type questions, how that would have played with one of our first shows early on.
Yeah.
Because I think we do need to build up to a point to where, not that we don't have respect for each other, but there's going to be some questions. I know just from discussions with you offline or when we were talking about Star Wars or whatever, there could be a lot of things that we could get into that we could be completely different perspectives on, which is fine. And to do something like that right off the bat, while it may make for a great live for people to watch a gigantic train wreck or people going after each other, but that's not what we're building here.
Yep. But that's kind of what I thought we were about to do. So I was really unsure we were diving into. And then once it got started, I was like, oh, I kind of thought we were about to potentially have our first episode as that train wreck.
And don't forget, she didn't get through all of her questions. I'm wondering if maybe a few were kind of held back. Like maybe she got nervous. If Castle got nervous and had some, because I think there would have been some questions maybe that we would be like, ooh, I don't know if I want to answer that.
No, I think they were all like that. She asked the best ones, but that was fun. Like I was happier with it than I thought because I was expecting something different. And I was like, oh, this could be tense. I don't know. And then I was like, oh, we're talking about sandwiches. It's great.
Yeah, no. So something like that, I think that we can do in a recurring segment where we either tackle certain types of topics or we turn it into, as opposed to a specific guest host, we field comments live from people, maybe like once every so often. It said, ask us anything, and we literally field questions from people, because that could get interesting.
Yep.
From people that are actually watching it. So
the premise would stay getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So over time, it would almost be harder to do that segment because it'd be like, hey, come up with questions that you don't think we've discussed.
I think I would think that it would be easy for people watching the show to come up with things that would be interesting, whether it's pop culture type stuff, things going on in the news or whatever, and just curious to see if we would actually answer it. And yeah. I would think that, I would be interested to see at what point we could push you to continue to answer questions before you would say, because I think...
Me? You think I'm going to be the first to break?
Well, I think you would be the first to draw a line.
You do?
Yeah.
Really?
Because I think you would potentially come from an angle to where you have not something to lose, but there's just certain things that you're probably more guarded on.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
So I'm laughing because I immediately, when you said not something to lose, saw you as like Liam Neeson in one of those movies where like his whole family was just killed, and it's like, I have nothing to lose.
Patricia popped in and is out.
Patricia. That's
what
I saw.
She's here.
Okay, let's get into the details. This is our personal opinion. What do we learn? What happened on the channels? We have
Oh,
TikTok data. Well, yeah. Let's do the hard
feedback.
facts. The
So,
feedback.
we're still very young in our uh, little project that we're doing here, and we try to post not only the long form content of our lives, but we also try to chop it up and put some stuff out there to kind of tease things here and there and make them a little more digestible for people that are just used to social media being kind of very quick and accessible type content. And I will say an interesting thing, we're on, and this is all kind of hosted on the Tossing Salad podcast platform. So this is, if everybody was kind of wondering, well, how does this relate to that? This is kind of a Tossing Salad podcast presents Brian and Chelsea make a podcast. So on Instagram, we have an account on Instagram and on TikTok and YouTube, and we're trying to build that up and get kind of a loyal following as we go. And we all know it doesn't happen overnight. But something interesting happened on TikTok this morning, and I posted just like I normally do, just a random clip from this past week's show where we were talking about, I think, what was it, TV series
Yep.
that
The
we have
top
watched
3.
over at least 3 times or something.
Yep.
So I think you had come up with, what was it, Friends, and what were yours?
Friends, Gilmore Girls, Seinfeld, and Lost.
Yes, and I haven't seen all of Gilmore Girls. I've watched sporadic episodes. Friends, I have. Seinfeld, I have, and then Lost, I've watched. I would say twice all the way through, but I don't know if I would ever go back and watch the entire series. I may watch like first season, which I thought was like probably one of the better seasons or something. And there's actually specific episodes that now that you had me thinking about it, there's one episode that just breaks my heart. Well, there's a couple of them, but the whole Desmond and Penny, I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah. That's immediately what I thought you may say.
And like the whole point where he puts his hand on the thing and it's not Penny's boat. I mean, I get emotional thinking about it because that was just such fantastic acting,
Yep.
So I had posted just an obscure 80s series that was out on ABC, and at the time cost a ton of money and had just stars from going back 30, 40 years. So we're talking like let me pull this up here real quick.
Yep.
But I posted this on TikTok, and I think it's our most watched TikTok. To be honest with you. It's not a lot of views, but it's 606 views, which I normally get like 200, on there.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
No.
So
there's
the MILF content warning with your face on there.
That's great.
So here's the one with North and South. So, and one of the bigger pop culture stars that was on there, that was Patrick Swayze, one of the very big first projects that he did. But hold on.
Amanda said anything with Patrick Swayze is going to get views.
And the interesting thing is we got a lot of different comments. Probably over, can you see all the comments on here? Let me scoot this over.
Patrick Swayze was dreamy. Yeah, Patricia.
So the show was great. Everyone was young. I have not watched it since it aired, but I loved it. Now I need to find it. And obviously it's going to touch on a demographic that's around my age, if not older, people that were watching things like that back in the 80s. But you can kind of see that. I mean, we were getting, I usually don't get too many comments. And so it obviously touched somebody. So TikTok, the algorithm was like, let's throw this out to a bunch of people that were around in the 80s that watched stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know necessarily if this means there's an uptick in maybe what we're doing, If it's a roulette wheel, and after every 50 posts that I do, maybe one will take off a little bit more. But that one there is one of the more successful ones.
Yep.
And
And we got a little bit more anecdotal data. We got a little bit more data than that, right? Like I, at least personally, got a few DMs right after, which I don't normally get. Not just saying great episode, but like engaging with the content of the episode. Like a Pop-Tart is not a sandwich.
yeah,
Like jokes like that. And then the one that stood out to me, my sister-in-law, who follows my garden account, which I didn't even know she follows that account, posted a screenshot of her computer searching milkmaids looking for love ? And so posted that. And that to me is like, okay, you're going so deep that now we have an inside joke from the episode that you're sharing with me just the inside joke.
yeah.
So I think we have some data that like people enjoyed that, right?
I do think that over time, again, it's going to take a while, but there's going to be some things, some topics that we have that are easy for people to kind of be like, yeah, I kind of relate to that. And when you find people like that, and I do the same thing, you reach out and say, hey, I know that show.
Yep.
And I thought it was kind of cool. And who knows what happens through all of this and what we're doing. But in addition to having a good time doing a show like this, it is kind of nice to know every once in a while it's maybe somebody else is seeing it or picking up on it. What's up, Sunny's Place? What's up?
Yeah. Hola, Sunny. And the reason I wanted to emphasize this, like, okay, what did social media say, is because we discussed it for a minute off camera, and we try, for anyone watching, we try to basically not discuss anything off camera. It's like 99% of this is live. So we started to discuss it and we're like, stop, do it live. But the question that came to my mind, and for anyone who doesn't know, my background is primarily in tech startups. And there's this idea that came from Y Combinator, which is one of the biggest tech startup incubators, which is build something people want, right? And so the concept is like, if you're building a company, tech startups' goals to go viral, there's like a lot of easy equivalencies with a tech startup where you're trying to have like venture growth, and a podcast where you're trying to like get a lot of followers and get people to like you, right?
Right.
And so this idea of build something people want came up for me because and obviously I'm not going to take only one data point and blow that up, but for the only one data point we have, and eventually as we get more and more, it'll be easy for us to start to say like, okay, we're finding a trend and like our audience likes this or that, or we were even talking like YouTube kind of puts you in certain directions because the algorithms. And so I think we're going to have some tough decisions around like, what do we want to do because we want to do it? And what do we want to do, the conundrum? What do we want to do because we know people will like it? So like, we've never discussed this. How do you think about that?
That's the tough question there. And I think if we're not careful, as with any of our social media accounts, the second that we're chasing what we think everybody wants us to do, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And we're not making money on this. And we started doing this simply for fun. You and I were doing a few lives in front of 0 people for 3-4 hours, not because we were, worried about people watching, or it's fun to talk about. It's something that's interesting. Like, oh, we can do this with 0 people watching and it doesn't bother us. The second that we start to direct the sale of our boat towards what we think people are wanting us to produce for them, and that's not right or wrong, it changes why we're doing it. If we kind of take it back to our gardening thing, why are we gardening? Are we doing it because we're looking for content to post on Instagram or TikTok? Or are we doing it because we're working on internal things that we have issues with ourselves? Or are we doing it because we can't afford to go to the grocery store, and so we're trying to offset a lot of costs by growing food on our own? That's a lot of things to kind of figure out. Why are we doing this? The eye roll thing is, yes, we do this because it's fun. is it more fun if more people also watch?
Yeah, I was gonna say I totally hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with it. I think it's idealistic and not practical for this type content. Like I think the gardening is a struggle for me because everyone here probably knows like I have a garden Instagram account that I do not post for views at all. Hard stop, don't care, right? So like, but this audience engagement adds to the fun, I think maybe even more than the gardening Instagram. At least the type of content we've been doing so far, you know?
Right.
So that's where I think like in reality, functioning without an engaging audience can be a little challenging.
Well, so let me put it to you this way. And Chelsea did say a couple minutes ago that a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, we will touch on it inadvertently when we're kind of talking behind the scenes. And then we're both like, no, we need to keep this for the show because that's one of the purposes of this show for 24 live episodes. Not only to come up with ideas and skits to do, but to also show people what it's like working with somebody and crafting up specific ideas for something that you guys are both, whether it's just 2 people, 3 people, a handful of people, what it takes to put some creative content together when you're working together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard for just one person, right? And their account. It's more than twice as hard, isn't it? If you've introduced somebody else. So now I've got to worry about what Chelsea is thinking and how she values things.
Mm-hmm.
Because this project doesn't go on if only one of the 2 of us are having fun.
Yeah. It has been clear to me since the very beginning, I would say though, that you have done, and I know you've actually shared that you have literally done stuff like this with a partner, but it's also pretty clear just in how you relate to me. And hopefully it's like I have also like started companies with partners and about to start another venture with 3 of us. And it's like done these different things with people. So my learning, I agree it's more difficult with more people. And I'd say it can be easier if you start to decide like what you care about and what you don't. And so like, yeah, if you wanted to have an opinion about every single detail you could. Like I always share like I can be as opinionated as you want me to be. Like you tell me. And so I've just created this really good filter. Like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. Like let's keep it. I did have an opinion that like, hey, let's pick some brand colors and let's have some consistency. And we did all that in the beginning. But other than that, as long as you're working with someone who knows how to be a part of a partnership and who both of you like give creative freedom when it matters, like you were like, yeah, build it. And I was like, do you want a preview of this like clip I put together first? And your response was no.
No, and it's not because I don't care. It's because I value just getting stuff done. And I
Yeah.
also value being able to see what else can be done with something that you're going to have a different perspective on things. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how you would do certain things. And then I think both of us have also agreed that this project of ours, part of it, yes, is potentially doing something long term, but then it's also allowing us to sharpen and craft the tools that we have to apply them to either businesses that we have now or something that we're doing, or maybe just even something down the road that we have no idea what we're going to get into.
Yep.
So all of this is a benefit to me outside of if anybody were to follow along or make comments.
Mm-hmm. So along those lines, we have a bit of a, I mean, it won't be too heated. We have a bit of a debate today. We need to decide our next episode's content. And I think to summarize what we've already covered, we enjoyed the last episode. We got some good feedback, not enough that would suggest like some dramatic shift in planning. And I don't think either of us would shift exclusively based on feedback, but are realistic that like audience feedback does have an impact here. Is that fair?
Yeah. And the trial balloon of having guests on and turning things over to somebody that is outgoing, that can handle a show as well. And that was fun. It would be different if, I do think that a show like that, if you just got some not random person, but somebody that's not really good or outgoing, that could have been a completely different episode that was really hard for us.
Yep.
Castle
Totally.
made it very easy.
Yeah. She was also
Very
very
easy.
prepared.
And she was very prepared with her
Yes.
her screen that we shared on there, which was awesome with the sandwiches and everything.
Yeah.
But she just having somebody like that is easy because you're not having to carry the show, is what I'm saying.
Totally.
And
Totally.
and as far as like opinion pieces, like what you were talking about, like you could probably give an opinion on a whole host of stuff, and I know you probably could, and I could do it also. I'm no longer in that point in my life to where I want to. In
Yep.
general, like I don't even care to give. I have an opinion. I have an opinion on probably everything, and I want it my way. But I don't put myself out there to where it's just, I see it on social media. I see it when we go to hockey games. I see it with our families when we're with them. Everybody just has an opinion and they just assume everybody wants to hear their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about your opinion in general. This particular project you and I are working on, I care about your opinion because it interests me. So I'm curious. There's probably all kinds of topics that I could be like, I wonder what Chelsea thinks about that. No, I'm not concerned with. I hope Chelsea has the same opinion that I do, but I'm curious that when I pick up this box, I see it this way. Chelsea may read it the other way. It's the whole elephant thing.
Yep. Well, and this is exactly why I wanted to go through the topics together. So here's the other thing. I am the note taker in the group just because I naturally, anyone who's worked with me knows that's my role. And because of that, I have this list of topics. And Brian shared like, hey, pick the topics we should discuss. I was like, but then it got to that place where it was like, okay, I'm going to be making decisions. And I'm, run enough businesses to say like I'm very comfortable making decisions. But it's very similarly to what you just shared, it got more exciting to me to see like, okay, if we brainstorm on this together, which I can present my screen and we'll actually do it. But where does it give more creative ideas versus, when you get stuck in your head?
Yeah, no,
So
I agree.
we're going to do it live. Let me share this. So I'm using for anyone who is familiar for fun, a Miro board.
So Sonny's Place, Emma, she has a comment here. You don't think everyone should care about your opinion, Brian? Come on, man. And she's another one with a great sense of humor or whatever. But I mean, I don't care usually what most people think. I don't engage anymore in what I think most people think about something. But I also don't assume that most people care what I think.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty good at staying out of conversations. One, because they just bore me because I don't think most people that I come across can have a good conversation. And I'm not being a smartass about it, but I've had my fair share of conversations in my life. I know what a good conversation would be, one from an educated background and what doesn't.
Yes. You gotta laugh a little bit at that.
So here, okay, so we got your thing here. And these are the topics.
So what this is that we're looking at right now is I have been noting every episode in DMs, lives, chats, and people DMing me that anyone has said, I want to discuss, or I think y'all should discuss this. So these are all the episodes on the floor that Brian and I could potentially do, digging deeper, as we've already done that. And so if anyone's ever used this tool, it's super cool. We can like move around sticky notes, do basically live brainstorms. So these are all of our potential topics. Sorry, the fonts are different sizes, but c'est la vie. And what I wanted to figure out is how to go about selecting our next topic, because the goal will be our next episode will be a content episode, and then we'll debrief again.
Yeah, so
Uh,
that's kind of the formula that I think we've established early on is maybe we discuss things like a discussion episode here, come up with a plan of something. The next episode would be us doing it, and then the following episode would be us reviewing it like we did today, and then looking forward again. Okay, what are some ones coming up? So yeah, I like that so that we can always have a discussion on okay, what's working and what's not.
yep, exactly. Hidden talents. Do we have that on here? I don't even know it's on here, Patricia. It is. It's
That's a
big.
good one.
Patricia likes hidden talents.
Again, none of this works. See, that this is the thing that is kind of scary for me in a sense that I don't typically do stuff like this with people that I don't fully trust. And I don't know Chelsea. I don't.
So you don't want to do hidden talents episode with me?
Oh, I want to do a hidden talents with you because I think that'll be fun. But I am stepping out of my comfort zone also because there's enough that I've garnered from interacting with you where I'm like, okay, this Chelsea's interesting. She's an interesting person. And I know that she's also not going to be somebody that's just always going to rubber stamp something or be like, oh, well, we've had enough good conversations on something as stupid as Star Wars to where I'm like, holy shit, you know?
All
So
goes back to Star Wars.
I think no matter what we end up doing will be fun because it'll be interesting to do it with Chelsea while I'm learning about her.
Yep. And I'm going to add them as people are giving new ones. So anyone adding new ones in the comments, please do. I will add them. Anything gets added, and then what actually gets covered live depends.
Danielle Renaud is saying garden drama spilled the tea.
Yep, that's on here. We have a
Is it
garden
really?
drama. Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of remembering. Garden drama, the hot button issues, and then we also have a spill the tea.
I had a off the record conversation with somebody recently, and we talked about how when you're first in the garden community on Instagram, wherever it is, on social media, but you're part of the garden community, you're like, oh my God, I love this garden community. Garden fam. And I look, I've been on here since 2013 or something. So I've put my time in, and I went through that period initially to where I'm like, oh, I love this community. I love everybody in the garden community, and I'm like following everybody. And I'm just gonna say, we were kind of just making a comment how that kind of changes, and you start to find people that, okay, within the garden community, there's just people that you're going to identify with just a little bit better than others.
Yep.
And then there's drama everywhere. There's people that start drama everywhere. There's people that it's just, yeah. So I don't know necessarily if we'd ever get specifically into that kind of stuff, but who knows? If it's on the list here, it may make it if we all say that's what we want to do.
And so I am adding, so I left it random, but my brain immediately wants to categorize things to process them because I am like a systems thinker. So I need to see how the system works together.
I love this.
So I've categorized the garden sticky notes. And Patricia, thank you for liking our Post-it notes. So garden drama, the hot button issues, spouses of gardeners, inside the DMs, spill the tea, which technically we could spill the tea on anything, but let's face it, like, what do we have drama on? And then when to DTR, define the relationship for Brian because he didn't know what it meant.
I didn't know what DTR. Yeah, I was like, you guys are making stuff up. DTR, I don't know what that is. Or
anyone listening, tell me you know what DTR means.
DTR and what was the other thing? FUPA? What was Amanda and Kate were talking about this FUPA. And I was like, I know FUBAR. I said, I've never heard FUPA, F-U-P-A. Never heard it. And they're like, oh, come on. I was like, I've heard just about everything. That
I think it's F-O-P-A because it's over is the second word.
Is it O?
Because it's fat maybe I got it over.
Well, maybe there's two ways to say. I don't know. I still think that it's.
I mean, I've never written it. DTR, if you know, you know.
See, Emma knows DTR. I had no idea. Like I know DTF. I mean I've heard that, but not DTR. Fupa.
Oh,
See, Amanda is
Amanda
saying
says it's
Fupa.
you. Okay, thank you, Amanda. What does the U stand for, Amanda?
See,
Upper is right. She's
see.
right.
Well, but Chelsea, you were just saying it's over
I know because I don't like
because it's
write
not a
this.
real thing. Nobody's ever.
I don't know what is real. Technically, real is whatever we make words to be, but
Patricia doesn't know either. Maybe there needs to be an episode on shit like this.
Thank you, Danielle.
Guest on gardening. Okay, we didn't put the 2 and 2 together there.
That's fun. So we have some potential garden topics. I would also, because I like categorizing, like we have this interesting category that I will call like specific to the host or co-host. So like a twin episode would be about me and my sister. Brian apparently has some crazy college stories he's never shared.
I love the visual here. This is what I am not good at, and I think this is why we're a good team. Because I would shut down. I would probably.
What would you shut down?
Gone through all of these ideas in my head, and then it's too much, and then I'll shut everything down. This organizes it and gets us going still.
Okay, I'm going to go crazy then if you're liking it. We'll say garden topics. And then I'm going to say these are, how would you categorize these? These are like personal people, like personal host stories.
Host stories, yeah.
Host stories.
And can I throw something out just as a side note, something?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're going to have to talk about this too, because I don't think necessarily what we're doing is gardening. You know what I'm saying? I know most of the people that we're pulling from are going to be people from the garden, but we're not a garden show.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be reluctant on doing too many or anything that's too like garden specific, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know how to word that.
Yeah, be a bunch of inside jokes. This stuff. Fair? We can make it more an inside look, though. Like, it doesn't have to be inside jokes if we explain it, like an inside look to things.
Yeah, but I
Ooh, sorry.
As long as it can go with any other kind of subset or any kind of, people that read books. So people that read books would kind of understand what we're talking about with the garden community. You have the book community. You have the upside down pineapple community, stuff like that.
Yep. Let's call it community topics, but I wrote Topus and no one told me. Embarrassing. The other category that Brian and I have discussed is this sort of like, I'm calling it business, but call it whatever. Like there's a lot of work that goes into what we're both doing right now. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, but like it's a lot of work. And so sort of a behind the scenes in various elements, both the setup as well as like how to make podcasts better in business, general like business strategies.
I think that could be huge. I mean, I would love to have a few episodes that delve into this particular category. This is almost, did you say something like this is almost like Jeopardy or something? To where the
Jeopardy?
The
topics. Yeah, we're doing Jeopardy right now. Yeah, you got to pick a topic. So everyone can vote by the end of this on a topic. So you need to pick one. Pick one soon. We're hitting our tight 60.
The business part of setting up the podcast. So like one episode I think would be huge that a lot of people would want to listen in on is, okay, well, what stuff do we need? What gear do you need to start up a podcast? Yep. We actually have to do it for Chelsea because you can see she's still using her earbuds. She doesn't have her lighting set up, which this is all small stuff, but she's got the stuff. She's actually made the order. It's sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have it set up correct. Mostly it's the lighting. I have not purchased a new headphone scenario, but I'm on the verge. My issue is I sort of feel a little bit like the overhead takes away from your face. I don't know.
but it's stuff that anybody doing, let's say, a podcast, wanting to start that up or wanting to do lives more. That's
Mm-hmm.
something they might want to listen to and consider. Like, okay, do we want to have it to where it's very low key, laid back? We all just use our phones and regular microphone from the cell phone, or do we want to step up the game a little bit and use things to where, like we do with StreamYard here in the software, and we're able to put up, your post-it notes, and we've got different windows and all that stuff. Let's pull the curtains back on everything that we're doing. Not that we're experts, because we're not, but helping others as we're learning and stumbling around and everything. There's so much, like, just from YouTube that I've garnered from Emma, that I'm like, it not that it stresses me out, but I'm like, if you want to do it right, you have to put some effort into some things. I
Yep.
wouldn't know that without talking to her in the podcast that we had.
So you're making a pretty big sell for the business stuff category.
To
We
do at some point, yeah.
At some point, we also have this big what we think category, which is what I'm calling it. We can call it something else, but what is our personal opinions? And personal opinions, basically the idea of this, I had to abridge it, was our like more litmus test personal opinions. Like, where do you stand ideologically on things? We did get silly with this too, like this versus that, Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A. Then we get deep again, separating the artist from the art. I'm actually going to put Spilled the Tea here because I think it belongs
Great.
here. I would also put Digging Deeper in this category, like
Okay.
preferences. Wigs doesn't make a lot of sense to most people. Wigs is something I did in New York with my friend who's on my way to my house tonight. Actually, we're going on a trip with these people where we would wear very silly wigs and talk about super intense topics as a reminder, debate about topics as a reminder that like we're all friends.
I think that sounds like so much fun, but then I'm concerned with, is that stealing something that you guys have with your other group,
No, we don't do it anymore. And they started it when they were in Oxford, and then we did it when we were in New York with different. It's all fair.
They started in Oxford. We
They were at
started in the
school.
Instagram garden community.
Oh, they were at
We're
school.
picking it back up here. But I think that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, right? And then, okay, so I'm going to add these two other categories. This one category, I'll call it, I think it is sort of like all of it's a variety show category. So I may actually get rid of the variety show and just call like these are variety items.
It's amazing that
Improv
you're able
night.
to. Oh, that would be fun. You obviously use this software quite a bit because you're just. I'm getting distracted in a sense that as I'm watching this, I'm more focused on how you're doing this stuff, moving things around and organizing it, as opposed to actually like thinking what I should be doing. Like
Sorry, I'll be
the behind
done.
the scenes stuff. No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's how my head kind of goes when I'm watching people. Amanda has a thing here where, let's see here. It'll be cool if you both had extra cameras going, showing you getting ready before the show and your setups, and filming while you do the show to see what Brian is hitting buttons, etc. And it's funny that Amanda mentions that, because there is a very easy way that both you and I can have a secondary camera by using our phone and just setting it up somewhere, either pointed at a different angle, and this software here pulls it right in. It's actually pretty cool.
I'll add her comment so we don't forget it. I think that would be fun. And I actually have never used this software before. My coworker used it all the time, which is why I keep low-key making everyone probably annoyed with that scroll. Sorry. My coworker used it all the time, and she led brainstorms using it. And so she's always told me to use it.
So Emma saying,
I am not a product or an agile manager, but Emma, stop.
Explain this.
So I worked at startups for a long time. Emma, I always ran operations or people, or did like talent development things. But like, I would say that like a product manager and agile manager is seen as like a pretty sexy tech role, both in that the role is highly acclaimed and you're both a people person and a technologist, well, like, software developers and managers can sometimes be seen as like not as sexy, but still smart. So thank you.
See, talent spots talent. Like Emma, there's certain things that just key up for her, and she knows, you know, I this is just the coolest part.
Mm-hmm.
Patricia, what is she sitting here?
Oh, Patricia and I are going to go just have a lot of fun organizing things. I think we're soulmates in this category.
I kind of want a whiteboard also, because I think that would help me out. But I just came
I
across.
have
You
one
guys
right
heard of?
here. Should I bring it out? I have a real one in my office.
Well, have you
right
heard
here.
of boogie boards?
No, what's a boogie board?
Boogie boards are little LCD tablets that are like 8.5 by 11. They're like $30, and they write up. It's like a pencil with the tactile feel of drawing and writing with a pencil for $30. You can draw, write everything you want, and then it's one button erase. It's a very simple way of just making notes.
Yeah.
And I saw
it
that
saves
the other day.
Dictation. It dictates
And you can save
your...
it. You can save the screen and make it into like a post-it note type thing also. But I saw something like that, and I was like, ooh, that would help me out. But
yeah. And I was earlier saying that an agile manager would be a sexy role to tech company. I'm going to take that back, because apparently Emma is a lead creative. That is the sexiest role at a tech company. So I'll give that to you. I was the least cool role at a tech company. I led HR. So no one wanted to talk to me, but it's fine.
see, I mean, like, that Emma does shit like this because if you go back to the podcast that I had her on for Tossing Solid podcast, and she was explaining a lot of the things that you need to look at, not necessarily that you need to do unless you want it, unless you're going to try to expand your account on YouTube. But it just, when she mentioned the word storyboarding for when she's
We're storyboarding
filming,
right now.
yeah. But when you talk to somebody like that and they throw out the word storyboarding, that's like a dog whistle to where you're like, oh, it's somebody that kind of knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody else says that other than maybe if I'm a wedding photographer, we storyboard for how we want the wedding to look like for the day. So that's how. So when somebody throws out storyboarding like she does, I was like, okay, she does this for like money.
Yeah, she does this. She's like the lead creative somewhere. Emma, it's super cool. All right. Someone earlier said, Emma said, what's on tap for 400? Y'all, that's the name of the game. These are our categories. Pick a category. And Brian, we should also be part of the picking, but that's where we are now. We need to pick the next topic. We are 5 minutes over our tight 60.
I mean, do we want to go with something because we had a very fun type episode? So the next one we would probably rule out bringing anybody extra on or something. And I think maybe do something that's either not boring, but I would say either along the lines of the setup of what we're doing. So maybe getting you set up, or doing something to where we're discussing something a little more serious.
I very selfishly would love to get me set up. That would be great, because I need to fix my lighting, and I've been intentionally waiting for your advice.
I'm all for that, and then we can kind of figure out how to make that an episode in a sense that we either walk you through it or just some of the things. And I'm not saying that I know what the hell I'm doing. I have gone through this, several versions of this over the last almost year in setting up the podcast, and I went from one look to a different one, and then scouring YouTube and being like, oh my God, my stuff sucks compared to what everybody else does. And then just learning how to, well, one, just to calm down for a second and not freak out, because there's a lot of things when I can't compare myself to guys on YouTube that have teams of people and that have a budget to do whatever they want in their studio. I mean, I'm literally in my makeshift office, and I have to learn that I'm not these $1 million big YouTube accounts. So I got to do what kind of fits for me.
Yep.
So I break it down into smaller things, and like I went with the lighting, a little different. So it's just something that I think that I think it'll be a fun thing to to get you up to be like, okay, here's what we need to get Chelsea up to speed on
Yep.
and why. You know, why we need to get her away from the earbuds. Not because we're being, you know, all $40 bottles of wine type stuff. But if you notice, like if you and I are, when we're talking, there's times where you've hit your thing, your mic, and then you can hear it.
Yes. And
It's
so
not a big deal, but it's just, that's the why. Why do we need to get her back to her actual mic setup, that she has a nice microphone somewhere, I think?
none of the cables worked, unfortunately. So I need to explore that further. But I am very into this. Amanda's liking it. Oh, we just hit the limit of my capability. I think we'll have to, I would love to do it to where we can both see, or everyone can see what's going on. So we have like second camera set up.
Right.
I think the other things we're hearing in the comments or seeing in the comments, and anyone else, if you have ideas, let us know. We should add the specs, like both the pricing and like the tooling we're using, however you want to say that. And we're going to have very different needs. So here's the other thing is like where Brian was just saying, like, yeah, people who can dedicate all this stuff to their home studios. I needed to work smarter and not harder, so and not have it cost a ton of money. So like everything that I purchased for my space was with Brian's guidance and with some other people's guidance in the industry I work in to figure out like, okay, what would work for both needs? So if I'm on a coaching call, if I'm on a work call, if I'm doing a workshop or a presentation for a company, it's also going to look good. The same as it's going to look good for a more fun, more creative Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast. So we can totally cover that. What else, Brian, for this episode?
Well, I think it allows people not only, you touched on it there, but you know, they may want to do a podcast in a different way, but this gives them something to kind of like, ooh, it sparks an idea of how they want to do their setup, or even with a live. There's a lot of people that enjoy just doing lives. I know Amanda does a ton of lives. You know, it's going to be different depending on the platform you're doing. So on something like Instagram, you don't need this kind of setup because this stuff doesn't work for an Instagram setup for the most part. I mean, it can, but then it's a convolute. It's too many. This is more set up for something like YouTube and a few other platforms. But if you want to do something for Instagram, maybe you're wanting just to change and just make it a little nicer with your lighting or something, then it's still something that's relevant to you. So we're not saying this is the end all be all setup, but it's a place to start.
So I'm adding in software. All right. That's probably a lot to cover in an hour. So let's start there. We'll have second camera set up. We'll share a list of all the specific hardware, software, pricing we're using.
Can you imagine the storyboarding that goes on producing MILF Manor when the producers are all like, okay, what are we doing this week? I didn't mean to change your thing out, but I just thought that was...
No, Patricia, I love how to feel comfortable talking in front of a camera. I'm ignoring Brian. How to feel
Patricia,
comfortable.
and Patricia, that's a great comment. I'm going to put that up here just here real for a second, because a lot of people may not know who Patricia is or whatever. So on Instagram. So Patricia, if you guys noticed the Tossing Salad podcast, the avatar, a beautiful avatar of moi with my hat, and I'm under my little...
You're breaking up a little bit. What's going on over there?
Oh, yeah?
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're a little...
Jeez.
I mean, your fancy
Mic.
headphones.
I'm going to have to get the earbuds or something. But Patricia's the one that did the avatar for the Tossing Salad podcast. But Patricia's also one that super sweet woman and supports me and just like everything that I do, and just nothing but positivity from her. She's a fantastic account to follow within the garden community. But I think is also one that is a little more on the quiet side of things. And I know that she has mentioned before that she's also very creative and would like to do more things in front of the camera, but maybe it's just a little more on the not as confident being in front and speaking on camera, which I am not at all. and it's something that it has taken a lot of work personally for me over the years of having the Garden Voyeur as account, because I'm working on things personally on there. So that's a great comment to make, Patricia, and we
Yeah.
can definitely talk about that.
And Brian, I think your microphone is telling us to wrap this up. You're still a little crackly,
Yeah,
and I
I have
know
to
you're
figure
gonna
out what's
hate
going
this
on there.
sound. Brian's
Oh, I
gonna
know
hang
when
up
I'm
and be
editing.
like, "This sound." He's gonna be so mad.
It'll drive me nuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that as a separate one because I think it's so interesting and I love it. And I would actually put it with like how to be comfortable in front of a camera. I also want to do an improv night and have people join us. And like Patricia, what I would challenge you to do if you're open to it would be to join our improv night, because improv is one of the hardest, not hardest, it's one of the easiest ways. I'm going to say this differently. One of the easiest ways to like practice speaking extemporaneously in a way that complements those in the room. So that is something that I want us to do, like with audience participation. So if we could have first the like how to be comfortable in front of a camera night, and then eventually get to the improv night. And Patricia, you could join us.
I am so excited for this improv night. When you mentioned that before, like our very first episode or something, I think we could have so much fun with something like that, because I think that was on kind of in the lines of us doing something hopefully with like karaoke, but anything like that that's just different and fun, and where we're just kind of in a safe space to kind of just have some fun.
Yep. So that's our variety show elements, which we will get back to. But I'm very excited about next week. Your mic got better, by the way. But I'm very excited about next week for timing. I'm in a bit of a hiccup with my timing. My brother is getting married to the woman who watches our lives. So we're
Nice.
all happy about that. So next weekend I am out. So perhaps early next week we could do a similar thing we did this week, and like a Monday episode and like a Friday debrief.
Yeah, I think we've established that while it would be nice to have a set time of when we do this stuff, we fit it in how we can. So if we can fit it in at a time that's convenient for you next week before you go, or if that's too crazy, then we just have to wait an extra week or something. I don't think that's a big deal. Or you can be a baller like Castle, and we can do it on an airplane or a train.
Well, I can't. I
steamboat.
literally can't do it at the wedding. That's the problem with this episode.
Well, she probably thought she couldn't do it on an airplane. You could be sitting there
Read the topic for the episode.
front row.
We're building my podcast studio.
Yeah. So that is what we're doing next week.
Yeah.
Or
So it's
the next episode.
Yeah, the next episode will be early the last week of March. So Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, whatever works for Brian, the last week of March. And what I think we should commit to doing ahead of time is sharing, just so it's out of the way, like sharing some of this detail via social channels. So what are the specs of the hardware, software, sound, mics, engineering we're using? Just people can know what we're going to be talking about, and then we can like get into the setup. Does that work for you?
I think we could do either via Reels or Stories or TikToks, make short videos of kind of what you're talking about there. So if you guys are following us on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, be prepared to see some extra content coming out to get us prepared for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we're only like 20 minutes outside of our hour.
Did pretty well. I have guests coming in town, so I need to go set up. I love y'all. See, the comments are part of this. Like, this is so fun to have Patricia and Amanda may do a live together, so Patricia can practice.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, or even one to where you're not even live would help. So, and Amanda's another one to where, I mean, she'd just go out of her way. My God, all the stuff she's got to have going on with her own stuff on social media and being in the car for 30 hours a day. And then she's finding a way to hit these lives or watch our previous 4-hour lives. So it's nice. I will say, I'll take it back as far as I care about these people's opinions sometimes. I'll leave it there. Everybody else, I don't care. These people here that'll watch ours, these are the ones that I care about.
Oh, Amanda's asking if I'm going to wash the bed sheets for my guest coming in town.
Oh, my
Yes.
God.
Anytime guests come, we wash the sheets. Also, Amanda, if I remember correctly, you wash your sheets once every 2 weeks too. That's like a normal.
I'll tell you guys what, I will make the promise that if Chelsea and I have a long-term thing going on here to where this goes somewhere and we actually do something, I will have an episode with her permission where I come down to their house and I will bring a black light and we'll go through and we'll just see all these sheets that never get washed.
Oh my God. Okay, so when we have another child, we're getting cleaners once a week. So, depending on sequencing, we may just be fine.
We'll see. All right, so I think we've got a good plan going forward for the next one.
Good to go. We're going to set up my podcast studio through which gain and impart your wisdom in setting up a podcast studio and give us all that knowledge. I will be more learning in the episode. And I think the really fun thing will be watching your live feedback as we figure out where lighting should go, how a microphone should be placed, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I think anybody that's doing anything on social media, they'll get something out of it. And I think it'll be fun. Plus, we got to get you kind of up and going with your stuff so that your fancy microphone can be as crackly as mine at the same time.
Hey, my Apple headphones are sounding pretty good right now.
It's going to drive me nuts after this because I'm not going to know how to diagnose where that came from or why that was going on other than my internet.
It's still going
Is
on.
it?
You're
Oh,
going to
for
be so
fuck's
mad.
sake.
I
God
know.
damn it.
These are the things that keep Brian up at night. So just everyone
is. I'm going to be miserable tonight. So.
I know. I'm sorry.
All right, Chelsea, I think we've come to the end of our episode 3, which is great. Real quick, what percentage chance do you give us of actually completing all 24 episodes right now?
We're doing really good. We're off to a good clip. So when someone was like 24 episodes once a week, that's 6 months. I won't lie. I was like, oh shit.
Wasn't that you that said that? Maybe
I didn't say that. Julie said that, and I didn't do the math. I was like, 24 episodes, totally. And then I was like, oh, I just signed up for a semi-long-term relationship.
Yeah. Amanda says 100%. I'm thinking it's
going good.
I wouldn't say 100%. I would say it's, for me, I would bet on 70% that you and I see this thing through to 24. I don't know why. It's more than 50-50.
Oh, definitely more than 50-50. I don't disagree with the 70%. It's a long-term thing, especially once you get into social obligations. I was like, ooh, finding time. Neither of you are quitters. Thanks, Amanda.
Oh, I'm a huge quitter. It was 75% as of this morning, and then Chelsea left me hanging this morning for doing something. Oh, she's like, "Oh, meet me at this time." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I'm there, and I'm 40 minutes later. I'm like, "Hey, if it's still convenient for you, I'm just kind of sitting here."
Brian, I'm turning so red. He's airing out my
70%.
dirty laundry. I know.
This is what people wanted to hear.
I'll say it out loud. I told Brian. Now, to be totally fair, last night was date night. And we were out drinking and we were chatting about the episode. And I committed to a 10:30 a.m. of the two of us making that teaser we put out.
Of you setting the time. You set the time.
Oh, I did everything. I did it. It's all on me. I originally chatted you. It was all, the onus was mine. But 4 glasses of wine later,
date night,
don't remember it.
I mean, I get there 5 minutes early, like I normally do for everything. And I'm like, well, that's okay. I'll work on the thumbnail. So Emma, I was working on the thumbnail, although I was kind of struggling. Each week I'm not good at them. I can hack around at Photoshop. I was like, I'll play around with this thumbnail until she shows up. And then I'm like, well, fuck, I'm done with the thumbnail 40 minutes later. It's like, I guess I can go get some of the stuff done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it was 80%, and then it
70%.
went down to 70%.
So fair. That's I'm in the hole. I'm in the hole.
It's more than
We
50.
made it happen. And I will say I'm proud of myself because I had a back-to-back Friday before vacation. I'm going on vacation next week to do this whole wedding saga. So like I had a back-to-back Friday planned and I prioritized this.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see that grouping of Post-it notes on how that was prioritized.
It was oh shit, I was supposed to meet with Brian. And
But it
then
was
someone
fine.
canceled and I was like, I'm free right now.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, good. Anyway, if anyone's keeping score, I'm down 1 in terms of being a good partner, but we'll get there.
We will get there. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody stopping in and having some fun with us tonight on a Friday night. I know your Friday nights are busy. We thank you for flying on the Brian and Chelsea Airlines. Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast Live episode 3 of 24.
You know, with Castles, our flight attendant for the evening, creeping on her neighbors.
Yeah. But we will see you guys next time. Let's end the broadcast and don't go
Bye, all.
anywhere.